You're watching VinylicPumaGaming. What's up, guys? This is VinylicPuma, and it's been about 10 months or so since Fallout 4 released. Since that time, we've experienced the full vanilla game and 6 different pieces of Fallout 4 DLC since March 2016 of this year. Fallout 4 has also become the first console game to feature official mod support on the Xbox One, and while mods got cancelled on PlayStation hardware, it's pretty cool that console gamers are getting to play and mess around with mods that we normally get on PC. I think we can all agree that Fallout 4 has had its fair share of ups and downs, from good quality DLC like NUKA World and Far Harbor to some of the mediocre workshop DLCs that we got. I'm looking at you, Contraptions and Wasteland. From the newly introduced superior combat system to the less than satisfactory new dialogue system. From the great initial value proposition of Fallout 4's core game to the ridiculous price hike of Fallout 4's Season Pass. And yes, while the downs are definitely downs, overall, I would say that I'm very happy that I got to play and experience Fallout 4. I'm really excited to see what comes next for the Fallout franchise. While I don't think the next game in the franchise is going to take place in New Orleans could potentially be an interesting setting for the next game. However, if it were up to me though, I'd actually like to see the next game go back in the past, maybe 30 to 40 years after the bombs drop, as opposed to 200 years later. But I digress. As far as we know at this time, Fallout 4 is completely done. While I'm not done with Fallout 4 videos or content, I do want to give you guys my closing thoughts and opinions on the game. So today, I wanted to go ahead and discuss some of the things Bethesda definitely did right with Fallout 4, and some of the things Bethesda definitely did wrong with Fallout 4. So without further ado, let's get into it. It's fairly obvious that in terms of visuals, graphics, and attention to detail, Fallout 4 is the best looking game to date. However, I'm not as impressed with the textures as I am with the attention to lighting and how it reflects off of and interacts with certain surfaces. The attention to lighting is really the number one thing that makes Fallout 4 look better than either New Vegas or Fallout 3. However, some of Fallout 4's textures have a surprisingly low resolution. Some of the walls on the houses in Sanctuary and some of the walls in the Museum of Freedom in Concord have fairly low textures. Even still, I think Fallout 4 looks pretty good overall. I really hope whoever develops the next game will really work on some of the textures. If there is one thing that I think Fallout 4 is definitely going to be remembered for, I think it's introducing mods to the console market. While this is something PCs have had since launch, and even before that with hundreds of other games, console mods are something that I think could become big with a lot of other games. While Halo 3 and Halo Reach had Forge, and other games like Minecraft have allowed you to create user-generated content on consoles, it's not really to the level of what can be achieved with Fallout 4. What's interesting though is that console modding is limited to just 2 gigabytes of total hard drive space. And this may increase in the future, but until then it will prevent certain types of mods from being created. Something like Skyrim's Enderall wouldn't be possible on the console version of Skyrim Special Edition. Not just because of the script extender, but just because of the sheer size limit of Enderall. As far as Fallout 4's story goes, I think the game actually has one of the most interesting story premises of all of the games in the franchise. Playing as somebody that survived nuclear war to only emerge 200 years or so later is a fascinating story proposition. However, what is also frustrating is just how underdeveloped this was. This sudden change to the world doesn't really even seem to faze the sole survivor at all. You would think that maybe the sole survivor would struggle somewhat to come to grips with how much things have changed from the world they used to inhabit. While it's true that the sole survivor can act irritated about their unique situation through some dialogue with Piper, this isn't really explored that much more within the game's plot. Another problem with Fallout 4's story, which is something I've spoken about before, is just how there just seems to be a lack of consequences for your actions. It felt like you could really do some evil things in Fallout 3 in New Vegas. For example, blowing up Megaton or blowing up the Citadel made you feel like you were really doing the wrong thing. The only time you ever actually feel bad about something in Fallout 4 is if you have a companion with you that dislikes what you did. While I suppose this makes Fallout 4 more like real life in a way, it doesn't show how things are good or bad for the Commonwealth as a whole. Helping the Institute is arguably bad for the Commonwealth, but if you have X688 with you, he's going to tell you that you're doing the right thing. Arguably helping the Minutemen is good for the Commonwealth, but if you have Paladin Danse with you, he's going to make you feel bad for helping the Minutemen sometimes. Most notably when you help the Minutemen develop artillery technology. Something that frustrated me about NUKA World is that to really get the ideal ending, you had to be evil and help the Raiders take over the Commonwealth. Many people complained that in Fallout 4 Vanilla, you can't be the good guy. However, with NUKA World, the game punishes you for being the good guy. If you kill all of the raiders and liberate the traitors in NUKA World, you miss out on perks and various other cool bonuses. It's weird to me that you don't get anything for doing the right thing. In a certain way, NUKA World really has the opposite problem that the vanilla game does, where in the vanilla game, you can't not be good, and in NUKA World, you really can't not be evil. For that reason, I actually think Far Harbor is much better in that regard. You can choose to ally with the citizens of Far Harbor and try to restore the island to its original state, or you can side with the Children of Adam and burn Far Harbor to the ground. There was also a lot of other interesting things going on with Dima and the citizens of Acadia as well. Dima willingly forgot the awful and horrible things he had done, and the sole survivor, depending on who they want to ally with, can either help Far Harbor wipe out Acadia, force Dima to turn himself in, or even call in the Brotherhood of Steel or Institute to wipe out Acadia. Or what you can do is you can try to get all of the various factions to try and peacefully coexist with one another. Although I think, in the terms of the lore, eventually the Children of Adam are going to get wiped out. Speaking of Fallout 4's DLC, overall, I felt like probably many of you did that Fallout 4's Season Pass was fairly underwhelming. The price hike for the Season Pass was controversial at the time, and given what we ultimately received, I think many people have buyer's remorse. 3 out of the 6 DLCs simply added various settlement building objects to the game, and while some of these were useful, many of these were simply redundant. While I definitely think Vault-Tec Workshop was by far the best of the bunch, I feel like Contraptions and Wasteland just needed more content. What would have been cool with Contraptions is if you had a terminal that allowed you to mass produce weapons and armor to equip your settlers. Then these equipped settlers would actually improve the defense stat of a settlement, in addition to your turrets or whatever else you have. And this is something that I think was cool about Wasteland Workshop. You could capture Deathclaws and other creatures, and that would affect and boost the defense of one of your settlements. I also think what hurt Fallout 4 was the frequency at which the DLC was released. On the one hand, while it's great for content creators like me, since it gives me a new subject to talk about every month, I think it puts the developers of the DLC in a position to rush things out as opposed to taking their time. Most of the DLC content that came out for Fallout 3 and even Fallout New Vegas had at least a 2 to 3 month gap in between each piece of DLC. Personally, I would have preferred Bethesda actually give us less, but more substantial story and campaign-driven DLCs. Even if Bethesda made a Settlement Workshop DLC, having Wasteland, Contraptions, and Vault-Tec combined into one for $10 would have been a better value proposition to consumers. Or at least that's just my opinion. Speaking of the settlement system, I'm sort of in between on it. I don't feel like the mechanics of it have been fleshed out enough, or as much as I'd like. Plus, there are issues with not being able to raise or lower objects into the ground so that they aren't floating haphazardly in the air. At the same time, the idea here is pretty cool. You get to either rebuild the Minutemen and put together a suitable fighting force, or if you have the NUKA World DLC, you get to play as the Raiders and help invade the Commonwealth. I really hope Bethesda makes the settlement system more intricate and interesting in the next title. The ability to equip and level your settlers could be a fun minigame. There's also Fallout 4's weapon system, which while I like certain aspects of it, there are other aspects that sort of just turn me off. So I definitely like how weapons are more modular now. The ability to convert laser pistols into rifles and even sniper versions is pretty cool. Plus I like how most of the ballistic weapons in the game can be equipped with various suppressors and other modifications to improve their effects. At the same time, there are noticeably less weapons available to the player in Fallout 4 when compared to New Vegas. To give you just a rough idea, Fallout 4 has about 5 pistols with all the DLC included. New Vegas, on the other hand, has 11. This isn't even counting the unique weapons in New Vegas, which are actually unique guns and also have unique effects that can't be found on other weapons. Overall, I just feel like there was a lot more variety, and while it's cool that you get a lot more customization in Fallout 4, there were a lot of cool different weapons in New Vegas. So like I said towards the beginning of this video, I'm looking forward to what's next in the Fallout universe and how the story develops from this point. The prospect of going to new places and maybe even going into space is an appealing one. But I guess at the end of the day, we'll just have to see what happens, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Alright guys, that's going to pretty much wrap up this particular video. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and as always, take care, and I'll see you all next time.